So my first saddle here, couple tips. I'm using this type of scraper to get down in the pockets here. That's convenient. You can of course use pull scraping effectively here also down in these pockets, but I like to push scrape, and therefore this is made by my good friend Peter Rimmer over in England. So I ground it to the angle needed to be used very flat like so, but this comes over the edge here by the bend there. It comes over and then can be used to work this area and this area, and then I come in from the other side. So that's I think a good way to be able to use it diagonally like so. Of course you can scrape like so and directly over also. But anyway, this type of scraper is good for that. And then, as I've shown before, I try to divide each of the separate and vertical areas into flats of their own. So separate surface areas like so. So I run this scraper to the side there. That avoids like having a curve here, which is tricky to mark up. So then you can mark up all the way into what then effectively becomes a if you can see it here, a slot. And also there's most not so pronounced yet. Okay, so this is quite an oddball, isn't it? Well, it's just a resting place for two refurbished ML7 headstocks, but the bed and the saddle here came to me cheap because it's buggered in a way that really is beyond repair for most. So this is actually one of the real bad examples I've had here, and the wear on this is really more than what you would expect. We can go closer to look, and if we move in closer, this reveals a really bad example of wear. Hacksaw marks all over here, and also some strange marks, stripes. I haven't measured yet, but probably a high degree of wear here on the front. And this is a Super 7 saddle, so it might be also in the rear. We'll check that. That is not sure if it's a narrow or the wide guide saddle. I think it's a narrow because of the fact that this here is pristine. But then there is wear, I mean, also on the saddle here. So, and the underside, of course, then reveals a lot of wear. So this is a good example of one that is worn maybe beyond repair. But the first thing I'll do is then to check on this small strip of land here, the surface here, which is normally unworn, the same over here, that these can represent the pristine surface, and that these are in plane, with these bigger surfaces. Because if so, then I have a good chance to use these, first this as reference to this, and these as reference, this of course longitudinally, plus then also here, so I get both planes. That's what I do, at least. Is I can put it on the surface plate like this and measure over here to find if this is worn And then dramatic wear like this is very evident. You just put it here, given of course that these are proven to be more or less also then okay with regards to these. But anyway, just for the purpose of finding local wear, I can put it down on the strip of land I know is not untouched normally, and then just go over here. And this is like a ridge, very deep valley there, but then as you can see from the pristine land, this has been worn like 14 hundredths of a millimeter, which is, what is it, 5 or 6 thousandths of an inch. Same goes from here. This should also be the same, but it's even higher, but that is only because this is tilted a little bit. But if we set 0 here again, on this one now, and then move over here, you see the same happens even further. So, and then you can see the wear is also wearing out the old channel here. So this is probably beyond repair if you're not building it up again. So what I'm doing on this one is to mill it down and put rulon on or tersite, and then of course scrape it all. Just the important thing, verify this to this, and then use this to verify here, like putting it on here. So this a little bit like so. And then of course this can be used, but normally isn't good enough. And then to measure the transverse waist system, namely here to here, you need, or at least I normally do, I use the land here, so this paint must go. So I use this, put on like so, and then I measure here, which is, we can prove this is pristine, I think, and it's untouched, and also on the other side. So we have a good chance to verify one to another and to these surfaces. And if these are okay, I use an angled angle like so, and then buck it up like so, and then I can move it over to the other way system like so, and then measure this, because now you want to find out of course the dovetails. And then lastly, this one I normally use just directly on the bed, and this strip, the guidance strip here, or way, I normally use the fresh ground or scraped bed to measure, and then with feeler gauges, because then I can also measure the orientation it has to the spindle, so it sits like so or so. But normally it's quite warm. But before I put this surface here on the bed, I need to make it, I need to ensure that it's not having any kind of artifacts, so that it destroys of course the newly nice ground bed. And these marks on the bed here, they are quite deep. You can see here, if we set 0 on the normal even worn bed, but at least on the top there, and then go into one of these, it's like 12, so it's almost 5 thousandths of an inch deep. Yeah, this is even more, so 6 thousand. So this bed is in need of grinding, may also be in need of milling actually, but at least scraping is out of the question. This would be far too much work to go down that much ineffective. On this specimen, the gray that I have restored, which is now in useful shape, really also set up with the metric dial and screw, and the bed here is actually biax scraped, machine scraped, and to a high degree of precision, but I was unable to go deep enough to get rid of all the hacksaw marks at the very end here. mainly on the side here, and on a nicely ground bed you'll get rid of all the hacksaw marks, at least the majority of them, because you can go a little bit deeper